Hello, my name is Brett. This is Bobby. This is our first ever attempt to try to do a podcast. You'll notice it's very bootleg. We do have the B&B Podcast up here. We're going to be talking about art, music, sports, politics, pop culture. Uh, you know, Eventually the production values will be much better than this, and this will be like some funny anecdotal thing that we show where we're in Bob's bedroom with the TV behind us, with the title of the stuff on it, and you know some collectibles behind us. But like I said, we're working on that. It's the first time we're ever doing it. But yeah, we're going to be talking about sports and as I said, music, pop culture, anything that we have lots of conversations when we're in the car or whatever that sometimes last for hours about music and sports and different things. Also, Bobby, who by the way is my son, if you guys didn't notice the wonderful resemblance, and he usually has a slightly more excited look on his face. He's almost 17. This is the look. It's awesome. Bobby's been doing a lot of just sort of dabbling in the arts the last couple of years. He's very talented. So he's been writing poetry and authoring. He just authored his first self-published book on Amazon. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're keeping this first episode to under 15 minutes. And I'd like to say that's some strategic move, but it's just that I'm figuring out how to take the verification off YouTube so I can get over the 15 minutes, which I will do by the next episode, but we're not going to worry about that. I think we'll have enough time because I'm looking. We still, we've only went a little under 2 minutes. Bob, anything you want to say the first episode of the B&B podcast? I know I'm not a talker. You got anything you want to add?
I think that's a good summary.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna sort of do maybe the Jay and Silent Bob mode, except Bob won't be quite silent when he says things. Will be very he's very deliberate, so he's going to use his words very carefully. So that's how Bob rolls. Anyway, I did want to mention, just as an aside, we went to the Fluffy Gabriel Iglesias show last night. What'd you think of the show? What'd you think?
I think he's probably top 10 current comedians in the space. His production value is better than most.
Yeah, he was cool. He did this whole thing where he talked about how he knows it's expensive to get tickets and go into the city, and so he had this really expensive, elaborate setup so the people in the back of the United Center could see and hear everything just as well as the people up front. So yeah, I thought it was really good. I had never seen him live. I'd seen him a lot of times, doing his thing, been on Chappelle's show and stuff, but I'd never seen him live. He was great, and it was all like new material and very like conversational, right? And
he kicked out a racist old woman.
He kicked out a woman. Don't know if she's racist. I don't want to get I don't want to get sued, but allegedly, she was allegedly racist.
He was talking about not wanting to perform in Mexico for various reasons until he did, and she yelled out because you didn't want to get killed.
Yes, she yelled out because you didn't want to get killed, and Fluffy was trying to explain that he hadn't performed in Mexico until recently, which, by the way, was a great success, and got to connect with his father, a bunch of other things I won't get into because we were only doing a 15-minute cast this time. But a lot of deep stuff he talked about, but he performed in Mexico. Yeah, and when he did the intro, exactly like Bobby said, like he was like, "Hey, I've never been to Mexico before. I did not want to perform in Mexico because." And then the woman who's in like the second row screamed out, because you don't want to get killed. And he was noticeably annoyed. He tried to handle it with grace, and I think the first couple of times he spent a couple of minutes kind of telling her like, "Hey, I can have security come here, but let's enjoy the show." And I don't know. We were in some of the cheaper seats, so we had great seats, but I mean we were up high, so I'm not quite sure what the conversation was like. but I'm guessing he was trying to give her a chance to not get kicked out. Probably. Whatever, she didn't take it. So he literally, in front of 14,000 people, like just pointed to her and said, "Hey, she needs to," and her
and he had the lights turned on.
Had the lights turned on. I mean, it was a very good show. He also talked to somebody named Leo in the front row, who's 23 years old. Basically, the entire show. Which, if you're into stand-up comedy, that's kind of a cool thing for him to like have a through line, which clearly was extemporaneous, right? Because it's just some random person sitting with his dad in the front row.
Be in the middle of a 10-minute story, right, Leo?
Right, Leo? Yeah. So that was really good. No, he's good. He's good. I know a little bit about. I tried. She tried to strong word. I did a couple stand-up gigs when I was very young, including one at a Jersey club where I did 8 minutes until I realized no one spoke English. So I have a couple stories, and I never stuck with it. And it always looks like fun. And every time I see somebody up there, I'm like, I'm not too old. Rodney Dangerfield was, still getting it together in his 40s and 50s.
You also did film school and never stuck with that.
I did film school. Well, not that I didn't stick with it. I wrote some scripts. I sent some things out, but it didn't happen. And I was way too neurotic to do what some people do in those businesses, which is go get 5 jobs doing, being a waiter and bike messenger and I don't know whatever in New York, so they can try to go to auditions and stuff. I just didn't. I wasn't built that way. I went out and ended up getting a job when those other things weren't working out. But I love that my son's in the arts. I still like to write every once in a while. And this podcast came out of really both of our desires we talk a lot about pop culture, sports, everything, music, and it's usually pretty funny and interesting. And so we thought, why not do that? Since we both kind of enjoy that. As I mentioned, Bobby just self-published his first book. Tell him what the book's called.
Blackwell.
It's called Blackwell.
Amazon. Robert B. Kurlander.
Yes, go on Amazon if you look up Robert B. Kurlander. See, we're already sounding like a professional podcast. We're plugging something. First 8 minutes. Bobby, his book is called Blackwell, Blackwell. How would you describe? I kept calling it a true crime, but it's not true crime. But it is sort of a crime story, right? But
it's very similar to it's inspired by notes from the underground. It's like exploring alienation, but instead of a guy who doesn't deserve it, in Notes of the Underground, it's a guy who deserves to be alienated by his own actions. He's a serial killer.
And sort of a sociopath.
Yeah. Due to things that happened in his childhood. But I won't spoil that.
And as Bobby was saying, well, actually, it was sort of funny. I don't know if this is still the case, but a couple weeks or a week and a half, whenever it first came out, I guess the state of poetry.
Well, it was showing on a week-to-week basis. So
yes.
I had sold 20 in a week. So whatever other poetry things were in a week, it had shown that I was top 200 or top 100 top-selling poetry books in that week.
Bob is a top 100 poetry. Let's not shortchange it, Bob.
Not overall, just that 1 week.
Whatever. For some period of time, Bob was a top 200 poet, according to Amazon.
For Amazon books.
Amazon books. And like I said, I don't know if that says more about him or the lack of appreciation of poetry in 2025. My guess is there were some Longfellow and books, actual poets and whatever Lord Byron works that just didn't sell 20 copies in that week. So I'm sure some dirty limerick books on Amazon sold more than that, but no actual poetry. But what you were saying is it's interesting. It's a poetry book. There is a narrative. It's a narrative, but you were saying that you use the narrative really to just explore different philosophical approaches.
It's pretty much just philosophy through a guy who doesn't have a grasp on the real world, really. So it's a very skewed view through his eyes, through his mind, where he kind of lays out his entire philosophy, but it's not really something I'd recommend following.
It's a good. It's a very good book. I mean, obviously, I'm his father, but I feel like I'm an objective third party as well. And the two copies I bought and read, I wanted to read it more than once, so I bought two copies. That's an old joke. It's an old Borscht Belt joke. I wanted to read it more than once. So anyway,
very creative.
Well, he hadn't heard it. I did buy two copies of the book. Would have bought more, but I didn't want to get in trouble. I put his books. I can't right between Poe and who's the other author? H.P. Lovecraft. I put Bobby's books right between H.P. Lovecraft and Poe. I felt that was completely appropriate, and I think they would have been a big fan of the book.
Amateurs.
Yeah, they would have liked the book. So. But yeah, go on Amazon. Robert B. Kurlander, Kurlander. It's Lithuanian, fun name. But yeah, so go on there, check that out. Blackwell, it's really good. We actually have a lot of authors in the family. My brother Eric Kurlander, same spelling, actually has written a few books that are on Amazon, like very large academic books. World War II related to the development of Nazism and stuff in Europe, and he's a modern European academic. He has a book actually called Living with Hitler, but he has a book called Hitler's Monsters, which is actually really interesting. It's about like
the supernatural connection with the rise of fascism.
Yes, and so Hitler wanting to actually spend time and energy, trying to search for
a lot. Well, Hitler
mythological things.
Didn't really believe in that stuff. There was a lot of high-ranking officials that did believe in it.
I know the minister of propaganda and his wife were big into psychics and spiritualism.
It was like 60-40. The 60 that didn't really believe in it sort of made fun of the 40 that did, but they still utilized it to gain more power.
And Hitler wasn't above. Hitler was throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. I mean, the guy was insane.
Hitler was taking every drug known to man at that time, prescribed by his doctor.
But anyway, yeah. So he was into some crazy stuff. I think I wanted to say there was a part in there talking about maybe possibly utilizing Thor's hammer to to defeat the Allies. The point is, Hitler's Monsters, a very interesting, complex book that has to do with as Bobby said, the supernatural and how it was sort of entangled with the rise of, fascism and Nazism in Germany, and so interesting stuff. Blackwell, and I have not written or published anything yet, but I got to get started. Maybe that idea for a book that I have that everyone keeps telling me I have to do. I won't give the title out so people get the concept. It's a really good concept. Hilarious. So we're going to try to do, it'll depend, but we're going to try to do a post maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. And then we'll see, kind of how it goes. And like I said, we're going to work on, getting production values, up and stuff like that, so we can have conversations. And like I said, if there's something going on in the news, we'll talk about that. We might occasionally we like talking about, mob or mafia stuff. So, there's a lot of stuff that we'll do. Occasionally we might talk about, the Joe Rogan podcast. A lot of podcasters seem to be doing well talking about what Joe's doing. So we're not above that, are we? No, we're not above shilling someone who's incredibly successful to possibly get, views. We're not at all above that. So hopefully you guys check us out. Again, B&B Podcast, art, music, sports, politics, pop culture. This is our first episode. We did get it in under the 15 minutes. Yeah. Not easy. We're talkers. Wonderful. And we will see you next time.